Hello, lovelies. It's me, Cathelina, your host, your guide, and the voice behind Oracle Audios. I'm also the founder, owner, and creator of Fiat Apothecary. I'm so excited for today's reading, teaching. Call me crazy. But before we get into it, just a quick reminder, everything I share here is based on my own lived experience. I've been practicing magic consciously since 2012. I am initiated in both a Hermetic and Egyptian lineage, and my work pulls from Kabbalah, ritual magic, conjure, and folk traditions across cultures. I'm a walker between worlds, and I help build bridges for people to find their way back to themselves. I am also autistic and ADHD, so the way I structure things may feel a little different, a little non-linear. That's me, that's my brain, that's how things work, and supports my practice and the way I process the world. And this tends to resonate with folks who move through the world differently too. This podcast is part of my Patreon, where I share deeper layers of what I'm working through and offer support to other people on their own spiritual journey. On the Patreon, you get copies of the affirmations and the journal prompts for just deeper work. On YouTube, you get the audio with some great visuals. So let's get into it. This week, I'm going to be talking about the Ten of Swords, the Knight of Swords reversed, and the Six of Wands reversed. So it's an interesting cards that I pulled for this week's teaching / reading. So, yeah. So just the Ten of Swords upright, when I look at it, is basically you've been like stabbed in the back a couple, 10 times to be exact. And so 10 in Kabbalah is about the sphere of Malkuth, which is where everything manifests into the physical. And I'd say the path would be from Yesod, which is the foundation, and into Malkuth. It's not necessarily in Kabbalistic teachings because there is a specific card for that path, but it deals in that realm because tens are all about endings and beginnings, and swords is air. And since we're with Malkuth, so it's earth of air, the astrology, sun in Gemini, of the four worlds of creation, it's Asiya. Okay? And key words. So we've got endings, which I already talked about, burnout, collapse, surrender, and revelation. So with this card, now remember, when we talk about the spheres, there's always a tree within a tree within a tree and so forth, because the way creation works. So some kind of abstract ethereal thinking could be like in Absolute, the thought form of the will to let go. And then with emotion, with Bria, emotional exhaustion reaching its peak. And if we're in Yetzirah, the intellect, overthinking finally gives way to stillness. And with Asiya, a physical toll from carrying too much. And this could look like as a feeling of the moment after a long cry, where you're like, oh, you had to get all that out, and you're not broken, but you've let it all go. So the Kabbalistic insight, this could be that it's the descent into Malkuth, the place where we meet our limits and choose whether to recreate the same cycle or build something new. So it's kind of like a crossroads. That's what I'm looking at. Because having those 10 swords in your back and you're impaled on the ground, whether it's by betrayal or who knows, circumstance. But 10 is, like I said, both the beginning and the end. And with it being swords, so we have air, the element of air. It has done its work. Truth cuts, and sometimes all the way to the root. And this is where you can ask yourself, what did I keep holding on to that I needed to let go of? That kind of thing. And I'd say some entities to really work with this card. And since it's in the reverse, to help bring about alchemy and take something like being stabbed in the back and really changing that into like a philosopher's stone from lead into gold. Of course, since we're talking about Malkuth, the angel Sandalphon. So working with the angel Sandalphon. And then also, picture the Kabbalah tree of life. And so every Malkuth is also a Keter in another tree. Because they're gates. Well, every sphere is a gate. So specifically, when we're talking about Malkuth, because it's 10, then it's 1. I'm sorry, it's 10 and then it's 1. It's both and also separate. So working with Metatron to really work on the Keter of the Malkuth from what you are leaving into what new tree you are starting. And an affirmation that would go really well with this to really just transform this is, I release the weight that no longer belongs to me. Chef's kiss. And some journal prompts. What thought or belief has finally reached its end in me? And what am I no longer willing to carry into the next chapter? So good. So good. So the 10 of Swords upright. Just really transforming that as they're impaled in the back 10 times with swords into what they're no longer willing to carry into the next chapter and what has reached its end. So then moving on to the Knight of Swords. So this archetype, and it's reversed that we pulled. So the Knight of Swords reversed. This person is on a horse and they look like they are going into battle. Okay? You've got, looks like stormy, destruction. Obviously, since we're working with swords, we have the element of air. And we're working with the night energy. And I would say that this is working with Hode. That's what I would say. And it's, I would say, the path, even though technically there's already a card there, I'd say this also works with the path from Gevura, or as some say, Gabura, to Hode. And I would say that because the rigidity of the Knight of Swords kind of thing. So just that, because Gevura is all about, as you know, it's got the energy of just war. And then Hode, that intellect. So when I look at the Knight of Swords, I'm looking at someone that this archetypal energy is just impulsive. It could be aggressive, a bullying behavior, just ruthless actions, cruel almost, but cruel in the way that it's like, because there's, you know, we're talking about Hode, so it's intellectual just cruelness with Gabura, so strict rigidity, and it can be impulsive, just waving that sword around. Yeah, conflict, lack of empathy, lack of understanding, just ruthless, arrogant, stuck in the ego, being coercive, controlling, just ruthless, throwing shade. So that's what I'm picking up with the Knight of Swords reversed. So it's connecting just the force and form, but in a sense of you have your intellect with the rigidity of Gabora. So air of air. I'd say it's linked with Aquarius and Gemini. And also my sources would have said that it's Capricorn energy in Aquarius, because and I can definitely see that as well. The Capricorn rigidity, I can definitely see that. And then that would also make me think of just the Saturn energy of just, of that. So with that, the world, the creative world, I'd say would be Yetzirah. And we've already talked that it's air. We've already talked about the key words. And I'm going to add in, because it's in my notes, burnout from mental loops. So like obsessive thinking and bullying, which we've already talked about. So in the four worlds, so the spirit world, so absolutes, so urgency without direction, emotional bria, anxiety masked as ambition, intellect, thought spirals, and rushing without clarity. So one of my Kabbalah teachers talked about, and this specifically is like when we were sitting on the edge of the abyss, talked about the swinging of the pendulum, where swinging from Gabora to Hesed, and that pendulum of just not pausing before responding. I say that also comes into this instance because the Knight of Swords is just swinging away. And with the sword, I also get, since it's air, I get speech that is just, again, bullying, and rushing to assumptions. So in the material world, this could manifest as like disruption of sleep, bubble guts as I call it, digestion issues, and maybe that the focus is just rushed. So as a feeling, it's like driving 90 miles per hour with no idea where you're headed. And as we've been talking about with Kabbalah, and what I see is that the Knight archetype has misused the force of Gabora in so way of that it's kind of like a husk, an inverse. And it is what it is, right? These archetypes exist for us to work on them without channeling it through Hode's form. And also, it can be to the point of where it's channeled through Hode's form, but with cruelty. Okay, lacking empathy, jumping to conclusions, because we're with the sword, we're air, with speech, we're with intellect, the mind. And it's not that the mission is wrong, it's that things aren't fully understood. Again, so I get like jumping to conclusions. So entities that I have thought of that could really help this would be Archangel Raphael, to bring healing to this imbalance, the vice and virtues of the archetype that may be running through. And also Toth, or some say Toth. So bringing clarity to the chaos. And an affirmation I have is, my clarity grows when I slow down. So for this upcoming week, pause before reacting. Just pause and wait to respond. And the journal prompts that I get is, where am I confusing urgency versus importance? And a big thing I'm seeing here, and it's a trend through these cards, is discernment. And that's a big thing also in Kabbalah, discernment. The other journal prompt is, what needs to be paused before it causes more harm? Oh, this could go into a whole nother great talk about, they talk about it in Kabbalah as called the evil tongue. And I do want to talk about it in another segment. But yeah, what needs to be paused before it causes more harm? Harm to yourself and harm to others. And I talked about this in the last podcast, before we speak, asking ourselves, is it necessary? Is it true? Does it bring joy? Is it going to cause harm? I didn't say the last question in my last podcast, but that is a good thing to ask, because that goes into talk of the evil tongue, which is a form of the evil eye. Because once we speak things, it's like basically taking, I was listening to a talk about this from actually a rabbi. And what we say is like if we took a pillow to the beach and we cut it open and all the feathers go everywhere. So imagine that if what you're saying is causing harm, the feathers go everywhere. So with this archetype of the Knight of Swords reversed, and we're working with the Heir of Air, just really working on the impulsivity and pausing. So moving on to the Six of Wands reversed. In this part of the tree, so we're talking about, some say Tifereth and some say Tiferet, depending on where you learned Kabbalah from. I have both my Kabbalah teachers say both interchangeably. So I'd say that, again, now it's the Sphirot path, and this is my interpretation, is from Netzach to Tiferet. And I'd say it connects victory with inner truth. And I'd also say it is Jupiter in Leo. The creative world is Bria. Elemental role, fire. So we're working with wands. Key words, I'd say, and since it's reversed, I'm going to say self-doubt, lack of recognition, hidden victories. When I hear, because when I'm picking up on cards, like what I hear in my head with this card is that sound, wah, wah. I don't know if the audio will pick this up because of the little things in the technology, but I really get that sound. So no rewards, feeling unappreciated, self-doubt, unmet goals, stagnation. Is just a bummer. Yeah, that's Whew. So spirit, absolute. A spark that doesn't need applause. Now, why do I say that? So, I know from personal experience that not everybody's going to support you. They're not. They are not going to. People out there aren't going to support you in what your dreams and your goals are. You are the the spark, you gotta clap for yourself. Because you may not hear that applause, because not everybody's gonna support you when, at any time, you never know. But they only may, and in my experience, they may only do it after others see that, you're getting what's in their eyes deemed as success. And it's a bummer, right? It's a bummer. Because you want your friends, you want your family to be on fire for you and support you and be like, yeah, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You gotta grind at it. And totally, I get these key words, the self-doubt. But remember, you are your own, hero, I'd say, avenger in your own story. You're the main character in your own story, okay? The self-doubt is kind of like the villain in your head, so to speak. Go with me on this. You are more powerful than you realize, okay? You are a divine spark, okay? Keep going. So the emotion, Bria, wanting to be seen but unsure how to show up. Totally get that. Yeah, you're wanting to be seen, but you're like, how do I show up? Just do it. People are going to judge you no matter what. They seriously will. They will judge you no matter what. And as you change, people will judge you for changing because you're not the version that they like anymore. So just show up. You're going to change anyways. People are not going to like you. You got to support yourself because there may not be people cheering for you. In the intellect, Yetzirah, this would be questioning your worth. A lot of this, it's the internal battle, the mind battle. Even though we're dealing with wands, I'd say a lot of it, yes, it's remember that fire within, remembering your why. I have a good friend who, I've known this friend, since 2014. And they always talked about to remember your why, because it's that burning fire within that keeps you going, that spark. So if you're questioning your worth, remember your why. The material, Asiya, so delayed success, quiet wins. A win is a win, people, okay? Whether you're working your side hustle, you are working your job that's your 9-to-5, quote unquote, you got multiple jobs. A win is a win. Because remember, no one's going to pay your bills but you. All right? No one's going to pay your bills but you. So as a feeling, the Six of Wands reverse could be like that awkward moment where you've done the work but no one claps. Like we've been talking about this. And you wonder if it mattered. Oh man. I totally get this feeling. Keep going. Keep going. There is someone out there that will benefit from the work that you do. I know that sounds so cheesy and like all woo-woo, but there's someone on the planet that will benefit from you showing up and sharing your passion with the world. Whatever it is. For your highest good, there's someone out there that needs to hear what you have to offer. So the Kabbalistic insight, Tiferet asks for alignment with your truth and not with your ego. So when we're working with the middle pillar, because we're working with Tiferet, the middle pillar is the fastest pillar to ascension. So you go from Malkuth in the physical, then you go straight into the astral Yesod, and then from there, you're at the heart center Tiferet. You cross the abyss, okay? and when you're crossing over the abyss, you go into the invisible sphere of Da'at, which is knowledge, Gnosis, Giannis, and then it's Keter, unity with the One. So how does this tie into alignment with truth, not with ego? So the vision that they talk about in Kabbalah, Antifer, is I believe it's the conversation and the vision of your holy guardian angel. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at my notes. I just have my podcast notes here. So the 6 reverse reminds us that real victory often happens in private and not all recognition is external. And we've talked about this. Some people won't clap for you. Some people on your social media list, your followers, they're not clapping for you. They're in fact watching you for your demise. Like, haters gonna hate. So you gotta clap for yourself. And you need to name your wins. Whether it's you set up a meeting weekly or daily to just talk about what your wins are. Remember, since you are your own God, you get to decide what a win is. You get to decide what success is. Okay? Because you're your own God. You're working on your Malkuth. You're working on that. All right? You're the captain of your own ship. So entities that I'd say to work with this energy, to work on the 6 of Wands reversed, and to take that lead and make it gold. So for truth and courage, I'd say Archangel Michael. And I'd also say, and I didn't bring this into the talks, but I'd say Tiger's Eye for stones. Okay? For courage. And then I'd say some solar deities. So Ra, Helios, working that. And then working with your holy guardian angel. That is a big thing. Because when you're working with your holy guardian angel, you are working on a whole nother level. Because we talk about these questions, and I know that this podcast is going to be a little longer because I am not sticking to my notes. Welcome to my brain being autistic and ADHD. But we ask these questions of ourselves in Kabbalah. Who am I? What am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? And what is my purpose? So when working with your holy guardian angel, and then, working with your higher self and working with your monad, your answers are going to change. Your vantage point is going to change. Okay? Because we're only, in my opinion, of course, this whole podcast is my opinion, but we're only on this planet for a blink of an eye. However long that is. And then, we got more work to do on the other side of the veil, so to speak. Okay? So, working with your holy guardian angel and your higher self is a great way to remember that divine spark. Because you are more than just being human. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience in this human meat suit, so to speak. Okay? Being human, but you are divine. So affirmations. I am proud of myself even when no one's watching. And I'd also say listen to some Lizzo. She has a new song out so good. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about just success and just rooting for yourself. Cardi B has some good stuff. So journal prompts. Where have I accomplished something quietly? Where have I accomplished something quietly? And what does success look like when it's just me? You get to define what success looks like for you. So this week, I think there's some great things to, again, this is all more about, they say shadow work, but it's really just refining and remembering your why and who and what you are. It's not about tower cards, so to speak, like having a tower moment or breaking down, but it's really refining yourself to be, whether it's, with the Ten of Swords upright and some kind of ending, a burnout collapse, or it's the Knight of Swords reversed and you're coming in too hot with a situation, or the Six of Wands, where just gotta remember your worth. This week is about just changing the vantage point, slowing down, not being a bully to yourself and not being a bully to others. And if you're waiting for other people to clap for you, stop. Clap for yourself. And just, be your own cheerleader. Because other people may not see your worth or what you're doing is awesome. But you're doing it because it's a passion for you and it's tied to your purpose. So you don't need to prove anything to others. You don't need to rush. You just need to remember who and what you are. So some weekly affirmations. I release what no longer serves my clarity. My pace is sacred. My process is real. I recognize myself even when others don't. Seriously, clap for yourself. All right? Clap for yourself. So let's talk about astrology. I know that I've rambled in this podcast, and thank you for listening this far, everyone. So we got Mercury retrograde in Leo starting July 17th. Okay, and we are looking at, we've got sword cards here and a wand card. So we're already in its pre-shadow. This goes along straight with this. So we're going to pause before we talk. Because communication, so Leo governs visibility, self-expression. Mercury is about how we communicate and how we understand. So really pause, take it slow. Really, let's think before we speak. Does it cause harm? Are we doing evil eye? Are we doing evil tongue? Do you know the whole story? And if you don't, are you gossiping? People, let's not gossip. So during this retrograde, like I said, we're going to watch how we speak about ourselves and others. Let's not gossip. Watch where you feel misunderstood and let's pause and roll it back and work with clarity. And then pay attention to where you're not listening to yourself and others, like where we may be jumping to conclusions. Okay. We also have the last quarter moon in Aries on July 17th. I'm pretty sure I got that right. So Aries, we got fire. Okay. Helps us cut ties with what's no longer aligned. This is a great time to purge what's been weighing down your energy, especially thoughts that aren't even yours. Okay. I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. Get rid of them. And okay, so if you don't know, I have a shop, and if you're looking for support, whether it's spelled candles, I've got some cool jewelry, have some magical perfumes, and then I also have my Patreon. So there's great stuff there. We're going to end with a cool prayer. Okay. Spirit of truth, help us to release the weight of false endings, of falsity. Help us to embrace the space that is needed for creation and to create. Let our minds slow. Let our words soften. Let our fire burn from within as we remember who we are. May we remember that we are sovereign and that we don't need to be understood by others to be whole. May we this week choose clarity, choose to be grounded, and choose ourselves for our highest good. Fiat, fiat, fiat. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. I know this was a long podcast and we went over time. I'm loving these. Follow me on YouTube. I also have a Patreon. It's exciting to see where this is going. Have a great week, everyone. And again, remember who and what you are. You are divine. You are God. Talk to you later. Toodles.